Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. Well, Piston fans, we got pounded today by the Toronto Raptors for our 11th loss in a row. The score was 142 to 113. Toronto coming into the game was 27th in offense out of 30 teams and 8th in defense. And they scored 142 points on us. Their most points they've ever scored in their franchise history is 144 in regulation. So that's not a good sign. But we're going to talk about the starting lineup and the lack of size. Killian was injured tonight, so we have even more injuries. And we just got a lot to get into, so let's just go ahead and get started. Again, I'm going to say it's a huge thing. This happened last year. At the beginning of the year, when we start Stu, and I'm not blaming it on Stu, he plays his butt off and he does his role as good as he can. But we got pounded in points in the paint. You can go back to my episodes from last year. So this is my 100th episode. So it's pretty cool, 100 episodes, and we were getting more and more listeners and viewers. And so I'm so excited and so humbled by how many people actually listen to my podcast. And I love all the comments. So please keep the comments coming. I'll do my best to answer them. I'm sure there's going to be some people say, see, Killian's not the reason that we weren't winning because we did worse without him. So I know people are going to be saying that, but you have the right to say that. So and we're fine with you saying that. So, but anyway, please subscribe. So we're out there with our starting lineup, and we got drilled tonight. Points in the paint were like 70 to 52. They scored 70 points in the paint. Stu, we got killed last year, points in the paint, and until we started playing a big person alongside of Stu. Then we started not doing so bad. We also got killed points by the bench last year when Bagley was hurt and Burks was hurt. So injuries matter. Our bench, after Burks and Bagley started playing, our bench was one of the best in the league. So just injuries can make a difference. And we had 6 guys that arguably could play a role. And Duran's the biggest loss. So not having Duran out there and getting pounded in the paint, it wouldn't happen with Duran out there. We would not be giving up 70 points in the paint if Duran was playing. So, but we can't, again, Stu is 6'8". He can't jump. Again, tonight for the second game in a row, they threw him an alley-oop over the rim, and he couldn't dunk it. And it was a perfect pass, just like it was the game before. And I know he doesn't have great hands, but he just is, he's vertically challenged. And then we're playing Kevin Knox, who we picked up off the streets. He comes into the season for all these weeks. Every team could have picked him up, and we pick him up, and we start him at power forward, and he's 6'7", and he tries hard to rebound, but he's 6'7", and he's really a small forward. And so that's just part of it. And then obviously, we shoot terribly. So we start out tonight, we have our guys that with our lineup, with all the guys that are out, we need to count on Burks and Stu and Knox to score, and they start the game out 1 for 12 between the 3 of them. And so that's not good. And then our bench comes in and doesn't do well either. But like I said, we have to have size. So, I know that Stu's not the best at shooting. He was 1 for 2 on threes tonight, but he passes them wide open threes every game. You watch the game. He just catches it out there, so nobody spaces the floor. He's not confident. Last year he was firing them a lot more often than he is this year. So, but it's just size does matter, and we are out there playing with a lot of guys who could be good role players, but then now we have all, we're so undermanned with Duran and Bogey. Those are 2 key starters that are probably arguably going to be 2 of your 3 best players. We're out there with Sasser, who, I love Sasser. He plays his butt off. And he tries hard, but sometimes he looks like a high school kid out there. He had a lot of turnovers again tonight. He had 5 turnovers, and he doesn't touch the ball that much. He doesn't shoot that much. So in the times that he does, his percentage of turnovers is really high. But he needs to play because he is definitely, we have a lot of guys who aren't starting caliber NBA players. And I would say that, again, I'm going to probably take a lot of heat for it, but I think Stu would be awesome coming off the bench, bringing energy and toughness. And, he can shoot good enough for that. And he can slide in and get some points here and there. And he should play, 25 minutes a game. But, he's not just a quality starting player. I don't know how many teams. It would be interesting to see how many teams he would start for in the NBA. And you certainly could say the same thing for Knox. Knox couldn't even make teams, the other 29 teams in the NBA, and he started for us. So Cade played really well for the first part of the game, and then Monty. It was so obvious we were behind by 30 some, and so he just rested him the rest of the game because obviously we have the Nuggets tomorrow night at home, the world champs. So it's certainly going to be a challenge when you've lost 11 games in a row. Big thing though, the Lions won, and what a thrill. They were, the Lions have a really great roster, and our roster is not great yet, and we are overcome with injuries, but they were down by 12 with 4 minutes to go. We had one, they played bad by their standards and had all these turnovers, just like the Pistons had all these turnovers, but they made a miraculous comeback, and it was exciting and fun to watch, and then you had to watch the Pistons, and it's really hard to watch, and I don't blame you. I've been a diehard Pistons fan. I still am. I still will be. And I still think we have lots of talent. We're going to, before tonight, we had the worst record in the league. And now, obviously, we still have the worst record in the league. But before tonight, we had some good games against some good teams. We played great against the Bucks. It came right down to the wire. We played great against the Warriors. It came right down to the wire. And we should have for sure beat the Trailblazers, and if Durham would have played, we would have, and if we just played better at the end. But here's the thing that you got to realize. As bad as we are, and as bad as our record is, point differential, so that's comparing how many points you score more than your opponents during the game. So the team with the worst point differential in the NBA is the San Antonio Spurs, and they got the greatest prospect next to LeBron in history, everybody says, and he is amazing. He is fantastic to watch, but they're minus 13, their point differential. The Washington Wizards are 8.8 points differential. They're minus 8.8. I said the Blazers, they're minus 7.4. The Hornets are minus 9.5. And the Jazz are minus 5.3. And the Pistons are minus, before tonight, so now the Pistons are going to be really bad, but they were only minus 4.8. And we still had lost 10 in a row, and we were only had won 2 games. So, but we weren't as bad as some of those other bad teams, as far as how many we play. It's just, we lost a lot of close games, a lot more close games than these other teams. So like the Spurs, they've lost a bunch in a row. They started out, people were saying, oh man, we underrated them. We thought we didn't think they were going to be this good. Well, I didn't think they were going to be as great as a lot of people thought they were going to be. And I thought Wemby would have ups and downs, but I didn't think probably they were going to be as bad as they currently are, but they probably will turn things around. A lot of teams turn things around. And so I will say this. I watched Oklahoma City play last night against the Warriors in Golden State, and they are light years ahead of us. So I'm not sure that if all the Piston picks, and if Cade and Sasser and Duran and Jaden Ivey all reach their maximum potential, I'm not sure if we'll ever catch up with with Oklahoma City, because Chet had like almost 40. He hit a 3. They were down by 3 with 1 second left, and Chet hits a turnaround 3-pointer at the buzzer, and game goes overtime and they win. But they're loaded. They got, Jalen Williams is so good, and Shea's so good. All those guys are so good. And then they got all these picks, all these extra picks, and all these other young players. Isaiah Joe is, he's really can shoot the lights out. But anyway, I just know that we did have some bad luck. Our lottery luck was not good. We could have had a shot at, based on where we finished the last couple years, could have got Victor, and we could have got Chet, and we got neither one. And we could have got a top 3 pick in those other years. But I'll say this. I'm not sure. It would be intriguing to find out if there were a redraft, where Sasser would go. So obviously Chet's considered a rookie, and I believe he should be Rookie of the Year ahead of Victor, based on where we're at right now, which there's a lot of season left. So, but if there was a redraft today, I wouldn't be surprised if Sasser Sasser was number 2. Based on how he's played, if you were scouting and watching this play, you would probably pick him number 2, even though some people might not, because shooting is a real thing. And he has shot in the last 4 or 5 games. He's shooting over 50% from the floor. Now he's only shooting 1 3 a game. He's been 0 for 1 for like the last 5 or 6 games. He's only attempted 1 3-point shot and missed it. But it's interesting. His brother was considered the better prospect, and everybody, 90% of the people or more, considered that he was the better prospect, and he was a generational talent. And right now, on the Rockets, who are exceeding expectations, he was averaging. He played 4 games, and he only averaged 6.3 points, 2.8 rebounds, and 1.5 assists, shooting 41% from the floor and 18% on threes. And, obviously, Sasser's doing way better than that, and he's getting way more opportunity. Though I'm sure I should have checked the minutes, but he's getting way more minutes, and minutes matter, and shots matter. But I love the way that Sasser plays, because he does all these things for us, and he doesn't have to take a lot of shots. And you need some players like that if you have a good team. But I just say this, that I've been critical of Monty, and I still am critical. I mean, we can't just start our front court having our 4 and our 5 be Stu and Knox. And I know injuries matter, but you just can't be that challenge size-wise. Just even have the length down there. Even if Weissman and Bagley don't react and don't block shots and don't rotate like they could or should, you just can't have that. Maybe against a few teams you could get away with it, but most of the time you can't get away with it. But I will say this too about the coaching. Popovich, he had like one of the worst records in the NBA last year, and him and like Steve Kerr are considered and they deserve it, to be 2 of the greatest coaches in NBA history. And there was a poll, and they were both ranked in the top 5 or top 15 maybe coaches of all time. But Kerr, the one year they had the second worst record in the NBA, and they were terrible. They didn't have players. This year they've lost 6 in a row, and they have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Well, Steph Curry, he played last night, but he had missed a bunch of games in a row. Draymond Green got suspended, which he should have got suspended. But you have to have players, but they end up having terrible records. And Pop had a terrible record last year. He has a terrible record this year, and he has one of the greatest prospects in history. And everybody thought he was going to be so great on defense, but their team isn't doing well on defense, and their team turns it over more than we do. And their team has controversy. So, we have the Killian, Jaden Ivey controversy that we talk about all the time. Well, they have Jeremy Sohan that Pop's starting, that's not really a point guard, and he turns it over all the time. And they have this Trey Jones that comes off the bench, and he doesn't turn the ball over, and he's a much better passer and way more consistent. But I guess the thought is that they're trying to improve their team for the future, and that maybe Sohan has got more potential. And I don't know that anybody would think that Killian has more potential than Ivy does, but this is really telling. They asked Cade after the game about, what do you do? We're in this funk and everything's going wrong, and how do you, as a leader, turn it around? And Cade said, we have to be realistic about the situation. It's hard to just be like, we're good. You know what I'm saying? Because we're bad. We have to address that. We have to address it not only with our words, but on the court. And those guys, we have a great team of guys, and they want to do good, and they have stuck together, but you can just tell they are demoralized right now. And usually things can happen, and I do think, it's a long ways away, but I still think that we have a chance later in the year to get things turned around, like in the month of January and early into February. We have a schedule. Hopefully, I think by then we should be able to have our healthy guys healthy. By then, probably somebody else will get hurt, but I still think we'll be a lot more healthy, and I think we'll have a chance to go on a run. Because like I said, there's these teams that struggled, that started out bad. Again, the Rockets were 0-3, and then they won 5 out of 6 or something like that. And the Heat were 1-4, and that one win was a 1-point win against us. Then they reel off 7 wins in a row. So things can change, and not as aptly change when you got a team that's as young as our team that's been decimated in injuries as bad as our team. But it can happen. But Cade said we're bad, and you could just tell, you can just see it in the guys. And I don't think they've necessarily really felt that. But things can turn around. People overreact, and I'm sure people are mad and gonna overreact. But you're not really overreacting if you've lost 11 in a row. So I mean, the fact that we lost as badly as we did, I think there could be an overreaction to that. And so people, here's the thing now, what's going to happen? Troy's butt's got to be getting warm. We've had one of the worst teams 4-year stretches in NBA history, and we just lost 11 in a row. So it's not only as we have one of the worst records, but it doesn't appear like we're progressing. And again, the injuries have been certainly a factor of that, and the fact that we play a lot of young guys is certainly a factor. That, I mean, we're playing, we were starting to line up with the average age of 21 and a half, and nobody else was doing that except the Oklahoma City still got a pretty young team. They're not quite as young as we are, but they were still young. So we just have to see what happens. And the one thing that we don't want to do, I mentioned, is be desperate. People talk about making a trade. We got to make a trade. Well, guess what? We're not making the playoffs. If we were close to making the playoffs, or we had a chance to make the play-in, then you should maybe roll the dice and make a trade, as long as you didn't sacrifice any of your key core players or high draft picks, and you tried to pick up a player. But we're not, and it's obvious now we're not. And so you don't trade for OG Anunoby that played tonight against us, or Pascal Siakam. Those guys are free agents at the end of the year. So we're going to trade them good players, because they want good players, and they want high draft picks if they make those trades. And why would we trade for one of those guys? If we want those guys, we just sign them with our cap space to free agency. If they would choose to sign with us, they might not want to. I still like Patrick Williams. He's having a terrible year. The Chicago Bulls are so down on him. He's 22 years old. He averaged 9.3 points, 4.2 rebounds, and he averaged some assists. He shot, for his career, 47% from the field and 40% on threes. And he's like 6'7", but he's having a terrible year. He is completely in his own head, and they're really down on him. And so if there was a buy low, but he's a restricted free agent at the end of the year. So, I'm not sure how much good that would do, but I still could take a flyer on him if I thought we could trade some players that would make our roster a little bit more clear, because I still think we have some good young guys, and Sasser started out, smoking hot for like about 6 games, didn't play a lot of minutes, started playing some more minutes, and started still really doing good, and all of a sudden he kind of stumbled, and hadn't been doing as good. He had another good game tonight, but I can't remember when I wrote this down, but at one point, here's the thing: Sasser or Scoot, who do you want? Sasser was averaging, he played 12 games, and he averaged 9.3 points, 2.7 rebounds, 2.9 assists, shot 48% from the floor and 41% on threes. At the same time, Scoot had played only 5 games, but he averaged 8.8 points a game, 2.2 rebounds, 5.8 assists. Again, he had the ball in his hands all the time, and he was playing way more minutes, but he shot 34% from the floor and 9% on threes. And if you listen to my podcasts before the draft, I was concerned about his shooting and his size. Well, Sasser's small too. But now here's the per 36, because again, Scoot in his games has played way more minutes. Sasser per 36 minutes would be averaging 16.9 points a game, while Scoot would be averaging 11.2 for the same amount of minutes. Sasser would be averaging 4.8 rebounds, Scoot 2.8. Sasser would be averaging 5.3 assists, and Scoot would averaging 5.8. So, in a lot of rookie rankings, Sasser is ranked number 4 by some respected NBA guys. They have, Chet and Victor, and then Asar, and then Sasser, number 4 out of all the rookies. All these guys. I'll tell you this: Another guy I like coming in the draft that people, Brandon Miller, he is doing great. He just had like a 39-point game for Charlotte the other day. So, but when are we going to win a game? When are we going to win a game? We're still nobody's coming back. I think we could get Livers back, but he never has played great for us. I still always I liked him. I always was optimistic about him, but he never really proved that how good he was, because every time he started to play a little bit and maybe played okay, he got injured. But we play the Pacers on Friday, and then we play the Wizards on Monday at home. We play at Indiana. Indiana's leading the league in points per game. They are scoring more than anybody, and it's going to be hard with our limited talent to keep up with them. But you never know. But if we don't win the Wizards game, but we might not. The Wizards got some NBA players. They got more experienced players on their team, and they got Kyle Kuzma, and they have Jordan Poole, and they have some other guys that know how to play and that are way more experienced. Denny Advia, that he's having a real good year, but they have other guys, Corey Kispert, that can shoot the three. So if we lose that game, there's not anybody in sight for a while. So it could, it's already ugly. But I still think that, like I said, in January, I think we're going to get things turned around maybe before then and win some games. But I just hope that you hang in there. I'm going to go through the box score real quick. So our 30 minutes, 3 for 5. Again, he barely shoots, but he's been shooting over 50% for the last 5 games. 0 for 1 on threes, 3 for 4 on free throws. So I'm happy with that. If he shoots 75%, that's a plus. 10 rebounds. Again, one of the best rebounders in the league. He for sure, he's one of the best rebounders. Everybody else that's better than him or close to him are like 7 foot tall. So he is incredible. 2 assists. He's had too many turnovers, 5 turnovers and 9 points. Knox, 26 minutes. Again, I'm not dissing him. He wasn't even playing. He wasn't even practicing with anybody. But he was 2 for 11. He started out 0 for 4 when the start of the game, and he's 1 for 5 on threes, which he was bad on shooting threes last game, and that was the whole reason Monty put him in. And Monty has to experiment. Again, I'm not along with Monty, everything Monty does. The Spurs fans are not buying into everything Pop does. So it's just part of it. If you're a coach, you can be criticized. Steve Kerr, he's lost 80 games, not 80 games. He lost like about 60 games or more, the 1 year. And so it's just matters about the players. But I think Monty does need to experiment. So I should have started out with this, but Jaden Ivey, he finally gets a start. I'm dying for him to start. You've heard me on this podcast, and he's been shooting the lights out this year. He's been shooting 50% from the floor and about 40% on threes. And tonight, what does he do? So he gets to finally start. He gets to play 28 minutes. He's 3 for 10 and 0 for 5 on threes. And that's heartbreaking for me that he did that. Like I said, I saw some stuff on social media where people say it's not Killian's fault, and I still think Ivy needs to start, and I think Ivy needs to start ahead of Killian. So Monty did say before the game, before Killian was announced that he was out, that Monty said he's considering bringing Killian off the bench because he thinks Killian's good with the ball in his hands, and Cade always has the ball in his hands with the starters, so then Killian would have his hands on the ball with the second unit more. So we'll see what he does with that. But I said it last week, but I've said it lots of weeks. We need to play our core 4 players. They need to all play about 30 minutes or more, depending on who they are and depending on how they're playing. Maybe 28 minutes if they're playing bad. But that's who's got to get better. That's who, if we are going to be any good down the future, because we're not good right now. So, but Stu, 21 minutes only. He rested Cade and Stu the second half, and even Bagley, and didn't play him. That was just garbage time. We were down by so many, and so he just let the bench guys play, especially since we have a back-to-back tomorrow with Denver. So Stu was 3 for 7. He started out 0 for 4, so he did better at the end, but by then we were already sunk. He was 1 for 2 on threes. Again, he passed up at least 3 threes. Like every game, he passes up at least 3 threes. And he just, I don't quite get it, because it's one thing if everybody on the team was on fire and shooting really well, but when people aren't, and when our lineup's been decimated with injury and we don't have enough scorers, then he should let it fly. So that's just what I think. He had 4 rebounds and he had 5 rebounds and 8 points. Cade again, 27 minutes. He didn't play. He played some in the third quarter, but then he didn't play the rest of the game. But he was 7 for 17. He started out better than that again, and he didn't do as good in the third quarter. But he was 3 for 5 on threes, so he's been shooting the three better. 1 for 3 on free throws, which is terrible. He missed a technical free throw tonight, which Killian was usually jumping to the free throw line to shoot them, and he missed. And then Cade's missed at least a couple of technical free throws. A funny thing, Steph Curry is like a career 90-some% shooter, but I think when he shoots technical fouls, he shoots like about probably 60%. It's crazy. But Cade had 5 rebounds. That's really good for 27 minutes and 4 assists, which is still really good. 3 turnovers. Not that good for 27 minutes. 18 points. So, but he is, if we're going to be any good, Cade's going to have to be good, and we keep saying that. Ivy, like I said, he was 3 for 10 and 0 for 5, but I just want to see him. Let him keep on playing. We're losing every game, and he has a chance to make things happen. He gets all the way right into the teeth of the defense, and when his assists, he's getting guys dunks. So, a lot of guys, can pass the ball, kick the ball to the corner, and if a guy makes a 3, then you get an assist. But he creates real easy opportunities for people. But Bagley and 28, he played 15 minutes again. He always plays 15 minutes or 13, and he had 3 for 4. He's had a whole bunch of those games where he's played like 13, 15 minutes, and he's been like 3 for 4. And it's weird when he plays 15 minutes when Dern's out, and he did play him for a minute with Weissman, and the earth didn't explode, but they did it, and so I don't know if he'll ever do it in the future, but Monty said that he played hard. So Weissman, 24 minutes, and Monty went out of his way to praise Weissman about how he felt like a lot of our guys didn't compete tonight, but he felt like Weissman did, and Weissman was 6 for 8 in 24 minutes, 3 for 5 on free throws, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, 15 points on only 8 shots. That is being efficient. So Burks has had the last 2 games, he's struggled shooting, and we, with all the guys injured that we have, we really need him to step up. And I think Ivy can really take a lot of the scoring. Again, tonight he got a chance. He didn't shoot well, but he shot well all year, and he shot really good last year, especially at the end, the last month or 2. But Burks was 3 for 9 and 1 for 3 on threes, and luckily he does his thing. Why does he get 7 for 8 on free throws? He gets 8 free throws in only 22 minutes, and why can't Cade ever do that? But 4 rebounds and 14 points. The best player on our team tonight was Stanley Mude, and he played 25 minutes, took 6 shots, scored 19 points, taking 6 shots. Do the math, But he was 5 for 6 from the floor and 2 for 3 on threes. But he drew fouls, 7 for 8 on free throws. And so I'm actually more high on him than Kevin Knox. But we'll just see where it goes and what happens. And it's just as hard. We have these lineups out there, and when everybody's struggling, and we put out Sasser and Omude, and we just don't have real solid guys to score points, and so they struggled tonight. But Sasser, again, he had a way better game. 21 minutes, 4 for 6 from the floor, 1 for 2 on threes, 6 assists. So that's how he was playing before. So hopefully we get him back. But like I said, we got beat 50 to 72 points in the paint, and we just got to get Duran and Bogey and Monty back, because those are 3 of our top 6 players for sure. But it might be a while. So anyway, I really appreciate you listening. I know I rambled a lot tonight, and I know you're disappointed. I'm sure that most of you, I love you if you're listening now, because I'm sure that most of you were quit listening even early into the podcast. But be the reason that somebody feels valued and loved, and be grateful for everything that you have. And let's go Pistons, and let's see if we can beat the Pacers. Thank you.